Welcome to the Marvel Alliance podcast, where we cover anything and everything to do with the Marvel Universe. From the comics, TV, and movies, we'll go from the Mojoverse to Earth 616 to the Madripoor to bring the Marvel Universe right to you. I am the Uncanny Chris.
And I am the... I don't know what I am. I'm your friendly neighborhood Brent.
Well, one of those Alliance Assemble. How are you doing tonight, Brent?
I'm good. I'm clearly off my game, but I'm good.
We had little things here or there at that point, but we're here. It's a good night. It became what was going to be a simple night of news and started very quickly turning into a much more jam-packed night of news.
That's all right. It's a good problem to have if you're considering what should you not talk about. It just means you have options, and it means you have good stuff, not just scraps, So that's a good
exactly thing. It is a good problem to have. So let me get the network plugs out of the way. We are part of the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network. We have 9 shows coming at you all 7 days a week, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day. We've got my show, World's Finest True Believers. This week I did a retro with your buddy Chris Rimmer from Squadcast Media, DC Comics Squadcast, looking at Superman speeding bullets, very early Elseworlds tale, very good one at that. Then we've got DC Alliance, who this week, a completely new sets of hosts with Travis and Taylor taking over as Travis and Greg are on hiatus just for a week with some other things going on. So they took over, and it was an interesting show. Did you get a chance to listen to it?
It did, actually. It was pretty funny. I kind of liked hearing the two of them go. Yeah, I was my morning entertainment on my way to work.
There we go. That's what we provide here. Morning entertainment for the drives. So we got this show, Marvel Alliance, and we've got the big day of threes. We got Star Wars Alliance, Ranger Alliance, Slice of Film. Then we have superhero discussions, and then followed by Weird Science, DC, and Marvel Comics Roundup. So we've got all those shows. We've got a Patreon. So if you want to throw a couple of shekels our way, we've got a $1 tier, which are our tip jar saying, hey, we're doing well. And then we've got a $5 tier that gives you early access to episodes, ad-free episodes, and exclusive episodes. So we're working on some stuff to add some more Patreon content. So thank you for those of our patrons. We really appreciate it. And if you can't necessarily join the Patreon, we understand. But if you can rate and review us on Apple Podcast or whichever podcatcher of choice may be, give us those 5-star reviews. We appreciate it. And yeah, so as always, my next plug, as always, from my buddy JP at Organic Price Comic Books. He just let me know he got a big stack of books coming in today. Roger Stern Spider-Man Omnibus just came in, so he is shipping those out. It's a great run, the Hobgoblin run at that point, so that's a good one to look at. So he's got another big stack. I believe he said some Invincible compendium, some hardcovers are coming in. He has huge orders from that coming in hopefully tomorrow, so those are gonna be shipped out pretty quick. But he is your stop for collected editions. Omnibus is huge discounts on everything in stock and pre-orders, packed so well that you won't have worry about even COVID getting in. So ship US and internationally. And if you go to organicpricedbooks.com, you can use the coupon code MarvelGUA for $2 off every order. So again, we appreciate his support. And again, organicpricedbooks.com. Use that MarvelGUA code for $2 off. So, all right. Those are all the plugs out of the way. And let us deal with the fun, the episode. And it ended up, I had a predict. We haven't seen the finale yet, so it could change it. But I'd said last week, penultimates have a habit of possibly being the best episode of the season. And right now, this is my favorite episode of the season.
I can't blame you at all for that. I'm not willing to say that. I'm not willing to say it's not that. It's either this or last week. It's one of the two. But regardless of where in the ultimate ranking of the individual episodes go, which honestly I'll probably never do, this was a fantastic episode. Picking up where we left off last week with John Walker, and not immediately after. I wouldn't have minded seeing him escape the crowd, if you will, but I've been waiting weeks for this showdown, and it delivered.
in so many ways, So I mean, this episode was entitled Truth. Now, again, we've said before a lot, the Isaiah Bradley storyline coming from the comic book Truth, but I like thinking about it in the sense of the idea of what truth is. There was a lot of truth that happened in this episode, and I always remember what Steve Rogers, Captain America, he was the true blue person, that there was truth and there was right. There is no questioning. There is no this idea of truth in the eye of the beholder. No, whether you believed it or had your own like way of looking at it, there is still one truth. There's still one way of looking at things. And this is an episode of a lot of personal truths coming out.
That's a great way to put it. Last week, the world was watching. That came up multiple times. You could say the world was watching the events of the episode. This time, the truth. I mean, so much about this is the truth. Between Isaiah, between John, basically being confronted with what he did, whether or not he believes it, even to an extent, the way he lies about it is all tied into the truth. And then finally, Sam coming to find his own truth and what he's going to do. Yes, I mean, and of course, I mean, how could we not, with what they talk about in this week, how could we not think of Truth, Red, White, and Black? Between the title, between the events of Isaiah, between actually getting to hear his story. The titles for this show have been dead on, and this is just another one. The Truth, it's a perfect title.
Mm-hmm. We start off, we get, John running away, whether I can't tell necessarily if he's running away from Sam and Bucky. He's realizing what he's done. He just needs to get his act together and get himself, his head on straight. He's got adrenaline. He's got super soldier serum running through him. And when you have those moments, I mean, Sam channels what he does best is that, vet counseling, trying to get him to like understand reason. Even Bucky, with all the hate he has for John, I rewatched it this afternoon when I got home, and I really caught that for initially Bucky was even trying to convince John to stand down.
Yeah, John is trying to like put off this aura of confidence. He's telling them, "You guys don't look good. Go see a medic," right? And he's talking to them though. And I really feel like Sam was getting through to him. And then I think Sam made a critical mistake by saying, "Give me the shield." And it's like, if Sam had not said that, I really think they had a shot at getting through to him. But of course, John looks at Bucky and is like, "You don't want to do this." And he's like, "Yes, we do." And I'm like, "I want you to do this too."
We're all like saying,
please.
Yes.
Bucky speaking for the audience. We all want to see what's about to happen. But no, I really do think Sam had a shot at talking him down.
And I know we had talked about this in the chat offline, and part of me at that point says, well, what would have happened when the authorities came to take in John? They would have still not let it. They probably would have still taken the shield. So
right, absolutely, they would have. They just would have taken the shield and found another Captain America. They would have pulled another person cut from like the literal same mold that John Walker was cut from, and the cycle would just start all over again.
Oh yeah, there is a lot of callbacks in this fight, almost blow for blow, close quarters to how Bucky as Winter Soldier fought Captain America in the streets of DC. The knives, they're going back and forth at that point, even to Civil War, how that fight went down. There's a lot of, even if you notice throughout this, the music choices, there's callbacks to Zemo's theme from Civil War with John Walker, all these themes. And I finally noticed, I started looking, let me look at what the composer is. The composer is the same composer for Civil War and Winter Soldier.
Right. He's been doing the whole series.
Yep.
Henry Jackman. And you could really tell, you could hear those musical cues throughout. And so, and he was able to intermix and interweave the older music that he did in Winter Soldier, that he did in Civil War, in with the new stuff for this show. And I really, really appreciated the job that he did. Music isn't always the thing that, catches my attention, but this one really stood out. And I think he did a phenomenal job with this episode and with this series to date so far.
Yeah. How satisfying was it to just, hate to be vindictive, just seeing Bucky and Sam basically, Sam they had him use that jetpack to some amazing different ways, but just breaking Walker's arm.
Looking good, John.
Yeah.
Looking good. It was so satisfying. And just to be clear, Wyatt Russell's doing a bang-up job. I could not ask for a better performance. I love to hate the character. I hate the character, but I'm supposed to want to hate the character. I want to see more of him. I'm hoping he survives next week. Would I like to see him take another beatdown? Yes, I would enjoy that. But when all is said and done, I'm hoping he is still a part of the MCU after next Friday.
Travis Snell's in the chat. Jackman is a very underrated composer. We got Sabone Sanchez. The music for the fight was perfect. Oh yeah, it was just everything we wanted. We got some landed punches in. We've got some, everything we wanted to hit, and just even seeing Walker rip off Falcon's wings. I mean, that is symbolic in the sense of a transition time for what Sam is about to go through.
It is, and I didn't like to see it, but then you think about it and you're like, oh, he's gonna need new ones. Maybe I'm okay that this happened because I want him to get new wings, or I want him to get a upgrade, a redesign, if you will. And now he needs it. He has, and with what happens with those wings, ultimately going to Torres, we're just potentially setting up something down the line for him. And I could see them going either way with it. I could see them using Torres as the new Falcon. I could see them not going with it, and it just being a fun Easter egg. I hope it happens. I hope he does good.
Yeah, it'll be good. Again, I love that little line. He says, "Hey, you found your other arm, or you found your arm sleeve.
You found your sleeve." Yes, like so many of us making fun of it. Like, why did Bucky just rip off his sleeve? And they basically made fun of him in the show. I love it.
Yeah,
so
it is. All in the game knows that finding inventive ways for Sam to be competitive. Close quarters at that point, even the callback to, we get, Bucky walks away after Sam calls him out saying that, you're going to take out Zemo. He just walks away. So we know where he's going at that point. He just doesn't want to say it at that point, but, we see John get arrested, taken in front of, it's not a court martial, but it basically is without it saying it is at that point.
I think they called it other than honorable discharge.
Yeah, other than honorable discharge in order to save him from a court martial.
Right.
But that's how they kind of took it away when took away the shield in the comics. U.S. Agent. He got it taken away that way as well.
Yeah, I haven't read a ton of his comic appearances. And pretty much whenever they've been in team books. The last time I read him was actually for WandaVision when I read the Vision Quest, because that coincides with when he joins the West Coast Avengers. And I need to dig into some of his solo books more, because that's an area I haven't really read much.
Yeah. And it's interesting because the stuff I've read, he's exactly, like you said, Wyatt Russell's just doing a great job. Excellent job. But that courtroom scene, this show is dealing with a lot of themes, and one of them is veterans. And that whole thing, the courtroom with John is saying, I did what you told me to be. I went out there, you trained me, and I did it at that point. And just how a lot of times veterans just feel like abandoned by their government. They're trained, to be a certain way, to do certain things, and when they come home, some of them and many of them just feel abandoned by their government. And his anger, his expression about what's going on, they capture it so well at that point. The point so many veterans feel that their government abandons them after they finish their job.
Yeah, absolutely. What is it he says? He's like, I am what you made me to be. All I've ever done was what you wanted. I've devoted my life to your causes, and now you're throwing me away. And I'm not trying to say John Walker is a sympathetic character, because, he's not really. But in general, we know that sort of thing happens. We know that sort of thing tragically occurs all the time. And so I did still appreciate that they were representing that, side of the military in this show.
Yeah, Clay, as I counter that, he wasn't abandoned. He was spoon-fed the shield and the mantle. I totally understand that, but he feels abandoned. you're right. He wasn't abandoned, but he feels like they abandoned him because he had a different understanding of what he was supposed to be
He
at that
feels
point.
abandoned at the end.
Mm-hmm.
At the end, that's when he feels abandoned.
Yeah. And it actually reminds me, you know what? I don't know if you have you ever seen Rambo First Blood, the very first Rambo, Stallone?
I have seen parts of Rambo, and I do not know which ones. It's just parts of it. I could not tell you.
It reminds me of a scene where it's towards the end of the movie, but he has a similar speech saying, I didn't want your war. I didn't want to do this. You trained me to do it, and I did my job. Basically the same thing, very, very similar. So it kind of echoed a little bit of that in my memory banks. But, then we get the cameo of that we've been played with. It wasn't Mephisto, but maybe it could be Mephisto.
Maybe it is.
Maybe it is. Maybe this is our amazing what was it? Our was it the astronomer or
the aerospace engineer.
The aerospace engineer. Yep. Yeah, there we go. Miss Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Wow.
Her name, I have to read it every time. Her character's name.
She is playing. Let me see if I can get this. Well, we're just gonna call her Val, but don't say it's Val. Just say, just think Val. But the Contessa is Contessa Valentina Allegra de la Fontaine.
There you go. I think
this was. I couldn't even imagine this ever entering into my theories for this. But as soon as I saw those heels coming in, I saw that hair and I was like, oh no, I said, this is going to be good. And I'm a huge fan from Seinfeld to Veep. This is her as a superhero in Veep, not a superhero, but like a superhero show. She is channeling her character in Veep. I freaking love that show. And man, what an entrance, and 5 minutes on the screen. She owned that scene.
I haven't seen Veep, but she's obviously a fantastic actress. And Veep is one that we've talked about. It's just never quite bubbled up to the top of the list. But, that Val, that name, I like to think of her as Madam Hydra. That's what I like to think of her as. And, she's got Madripoor connections, and she's got Nick Fury connections, and her parts to play in Secret Invasion. She's really touched as a lot of different areas. And so I think they have big plans for it. I almost see her being like the evil, or maybe not quite evil, but definitely not quite good new version on what Nick Fury was doing. Like, I really wonder, she's recruiting Walker here. Next week, are we going to get like a credit scene where she goes to the raft and recruits Zemo? Or are we going to see her recruiting other people in other shows? We know there was a rumor about a movie appearance. I think we're going to see quite a bit of her. And what a win for the MCU.
Exactly. And we're going to talk about a few other wins tonight for the MCU. But yeah, All in the Game Evil, Selena Meyer, those characters she played on Veep. Pretty much after this episode broke, Vanity Fair had a big, basically, Marvel has big plans for that surprise Falcon and Winter Soldier cameo. And apparently in 2019, Veep co-star Tony Hale and showrunner David Mandel were really the ones who couldn't keep their mouth shut on their excitement, because I guess she had told them that when asked Louis-Dreyfus what she should do next, Hale said, Selena was so atrocious, but then you loved her at the same time. And I think that makes a really good Disney villain. It was Mandel that specifically who suggested that she might play a Marvel villain. Louis-Dreyfus had no choice but to play along, saying, swinging around the wires and kicking people in the face, shooting fire out of whatever you shoot fire out of. I would dig that. But what was interesting was that, her comic book origin, as you said, which has her transforming from one Italian jet-setting elite to a secret agent, could be Louis-Dreyfus's appearance in Black Widow. That is, if Marvel still plans to include her in the film after all the shuffling release. On page, Madame Hydra is eventually revealed as a Russian sleeper agent, which could mean that the MCU, she will have trained some of the Soviet program that produced the Scarlett Johansson. So rumor has it that she is in the Black Widow movie. And so the shuffle maybe this was, again, because the original thing was Black Widow was supposed to come out, then Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Mm-hmm.
So there is very strong rumors that she is part of Black Widow, maybe in a similar cameo, but there's a lot of smoke with this one.
It was long rumored that something from Black Widow would pop back up in this show. And then myself and several others just kind of thought, well, that must not have been true when they flipped the release order. When the release order changed, we just thought, well, maybe that's not true. Personally, I hope it is true. I hope we do see her in Black Widow. And yeah, you could say, well, it won't be as cool because we already know about her now from this. But you know what? If we had seen her in Black Widow, it wouldn't have been as cool when we saw her in this. Either way, one of them had to go first. In this case, it was just Falcon and Winter Soldier. I hope they keep it. If it's true, I hope they keep it in and that we get to see it in July.
Yeah, and just her lines, her presence at that point, she says, the second best thing was taking that super soldier serum. Next to first thing with marrying this little hot firecracker right over here, she hands her business card that has nothing on it and says, picking up the phone when I call. And they say she knows he injected himself with the serum. And then she drops line and says, that thing about the shield? Yeah, I know you don't have it. That dirty little secret, it doesn't really belong to the government. It never did. And we know why. We know exactly what she's talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's vibranium. It's Wakandan.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's very interesting. Is she going to become Madam Hydra? I've heard some people say maybe she's the power broker. Maybe this is who Sharon Carter is working for. I don't know. This is, again, the idea gets deeper and deeper. But again, she says he is very, very valuable. So the theories that I'm still saying John makes out of the show, because dropping that line of saying you're very valuable and you're going to pick up the phone when I call, he's not done after the show.
I really hope you're right. And I don't think she's the power broker, but I don't know. She could be connected. She could be working with the power broker, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe she is. I'm still every bit as confident that Sharon is definitely dealing with or is the power broker. Mm-hmm. She could be undercover, she could be working for, or she could be. But all this episode did was further cement that in my eyes. So maybe they both are. And I mean, we know that, at least in the comics, Madam Hydra has connections with Madripoor, running it for a while. Where is Sharon? Madripoor. So the connections are already starting to form there.
Yeah, and so, we get Zemo visiting finally that memorial we had seen in the trailers. He had made hints towards it. And it's in where the crater that was Sokovia was at. And, I remember at the end of, WandaVision, could maybe Wanda be on the other side of this? That's where her cabin is. Could she be on the
considered that?
But could she be in Sokovia and just happens to be, maybe times maybe different or something like that? She could be on the other side of this lake, basically rain-filled crater.
I mean, that could be where at least she was. We could find that out. I mean, we got to remember these two shows are not taking place at the same time. I mean, technically, at least the primary events of WandaVision took place months before Falcon and Winter Soldier even started. Credit scenes, though, typically, or often, I should say, pick up way down the line. Yeah, they don't. They're not necessarily the next scene, if you will. So maybe she's there. It's certainly, we can't rule it out. I mean, we certainly can't.
It's interesting, but what a key character moment for Bucky, just showing that he has truly overcome his programming and just doesn't kill Zemo when he has the chance and turns him over to the Dora Milaje, who are going to drop him off where?
At the raft, which, okay, I like it because I feel like that keeps him in play easily for Val. But it's weird to me because I would have thought after this, they would have just taken him straight back to Wakanda.
You would think, but who is supposedly, if he still is, running the raft?
Well, I got to assume it's Thunderbolt Ross, right?
Yeah, I mean, he was originally before he got snapped. So 5 years later, did he just go back to the old digs?
I really hadn't thought much of that, but yes, I would. I mean, that fits the Thunderbolt theory. You know, which again is still just a theory, but that fits the Thunderbolt theory. Travis Snell's asking if Zemo is one of the end credit scenes next week. I think that is very possible, and I do think there are going to be 2 next week, but that is very, very possible that Zemo is one of them. I would not at all be surprised. This show has had so many callbacks to Winter Soldier and Civil War, and think back to the Civil War credit scene with Steve showing up in the raft and just kind of looking at who he was, rescuing. I could see a similar scene with either Thunderbolt Ross or Val walking up to Zemo's cell.
Yeah, it's so many good possibilities for this the end credits that's happening at that point. And we finally get more time with Isaiah. I'm so happy we get more time with Isaiah, and we get that one-on-one moment that I was hoping and wishing was going to happen between him and Sam. He is such an amazing actor.
Yes.
Carl
Lumley.
Yep. Yes, Carl Lumley. I've not seen one thing that I've been disappointed as a voice actor or as an actor himself. He is just gravitas of class.
I had him and I had the Dora Milaje on a list of if I don't see them again, I will be a little disappointed by that at the end of the show. And both of them appeared here. We got a little bit more with the Dora. They definitely played an important part. And now we have Isaiah with finally getting to hear his story. I was really glad to hear that. There's a part of me that does still want to see a flashback of his time as Captain America. Definitely want to see that fight with Bucky. But if this is all we get, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. And I like that everything Isaiah is saying, he's saying exactly what Sam has been fearing and worried about if ever he is going to take up the shield. Like all stuff like Isaiah articulates, he tells the story in taking those cues from the comic truth. There's so many callbacks to exactly that, maybe in a different way, obviously in a different time, but the experiments, the calls back to the Tuskegee Airmen, and the fact that saying no self-respecting black man, even if offered the shield, it will take it up. That's something very heavy to consider for Sam.
That puts some doubt in me on whether or not Sam would actually do it. I know there were toy leaks and whatever, but toys spoil shows, but they don't always spoil shows. Sometimes they're just extra toys for the money grab, And so there was a part of me that was like, come on, Sam, I still want you to find a way that you can decide you want to do this. So obviously we know where it ends up, but this scene with Isaiah, the thing that really stuck out to me was they stuck him in jail for 30 years because he went against orders, went across enemy lines, and rescued his unit. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't that Captain America, the first Avenger?
Yes, it is. That you exactly read my mind. That is exactly it. And his line is almost a callback from the comics when they were trying to decide who to give the shield. A African American congressman even held a picture of Falcon and saying this would be a great candidate. However, the America is not ready for a black Captain America.
Right.
But there's been a lot of talk I've heard from different circles at that point saying, I don't want politics or talk about race and shows like this. I just want to escape. Here's my counter to that. Captain America wears red, white, and blue. He was introduced hitting one of the most biggest racist buttholes, a-holes of all time, Adolf Hitler, before we even got into the war. Whether we like it or not, that is a key part of the history of Captain America. It is very political. It involves him fighting against racism when his introduction. These are real issues that are being brought into just simply ignore them and considering even Sam in the comics. In the comics, when Sam does become Captain America, he makes it a point saying, I'm not going to be silent. And that has serious blowbacks in the comics at that point. So you may not like it, and that's fair. That's your opinion. But I think that it brings the truth to what Captain America is about. He is going to stand up. He or she will stand up. Whoever wears the mantle is about standing up for what is right, what is true, and stopping. Again, I don't like bullies. And who are some of the biggest bullies out there? Racists.
I think it's even broader than that because, of course, that's where Captain America came from. But really, that's Marvel Comics in its entire history. I mean, the mutants themselves are an allegory for racism from day one. right? Like,
and that is thanks to Chris Claremont. That is Chris Claremont brought that true.
If you don't like politics in your Marvel content, then you just must never consume Marvel content. It's there. It's a part of it. And no, it hasn't always been the focus. There are absolutely stories that don't focus on it, but it is ingrained into the DNA of Marvel. And so it would have been a disservice to this event of passing the shield from Steve Rogers to Sam Wilson to a black man. It would have been not doing the story justice if they had just ignored this aspect.
All the games, it's not that they don't like politics and entertainment; they just don't like the politics they don't agree with. To some extent, you're right at that point. I think that there is definitely validity in that. I appreciate the kudos there, Travis. He also says, any chance now with us learning that the government had a few things kept away, could this be used to introduce a particular Canadian? I don't know. Anything's possible. Again, as I've said before, anything and everything is on the table. But that would be up to the
particular Canadian. What he really wants to see Puck? Is that who he's talking about?
No, Sasquatch.
Oh, my mistake. Sasquatch. Okay, got it. Perfect.
He's hairy. He's big. Well, Puck's little and hairy. So yeah, he's talking about Puck.
I mean, it's the only logical conclusion.
But that I'm so happy they included that moment. That moment there was very important to have Sam talking about, because again, it's what he's been wrestling with. So yeah, we move from kind of serious stuff. We move to the lightheartedness of fixing up the boat, and seems like an 80s sequence of everyone getting together and hanging out. And
yeah.
But how about this? Obviously he has a little thing for, has a little moment with Sam's sister. But what is her name?
Sarah.
Remember back to Civil War? When he and Sam had got Bucky and just trying to say, and Steve said, "What was my mother's name?" And he says,
Sarah.
So yeah, he may be kind of sweet on her, but it also may be one of those things that he may be remembering a moment with his friend.
Sure, I definitely think there was a spark, but
oh yeah, I'm not. Yeah,
it is obvious. Funny that Bucky is working with one Captain America. He's working with another Captain America, and both of them have a woman named Sarah in their family who would be a very prominent person in their life.
Yeah. Did you notice the dog tags on Bucky?
I mean, I saw they were there, but I didn't read them.
Well, it wasn't like reading them necessarily, but he lost them when he, fell at that point. They weren't obviously still attached, and I highly doubt Hydra kept the dog tags. And military code does not necessarily. One of the streams I listened to from Screen Crush, he had said that he had looked up military code and does not dictate that if you lose your dog tags, they are reissued at that point. So whose dog tags could they possibly be at that point?
Steve's, I guess.
That's my guess. That is my guess. It could be. It would make the most sense at that point. So he still has a little piece of Steve holding on, because again, Steve went down in the plane in the ice. So more as a soldier, in active duty. So he's going to keep those dog tags on him. So there does stand to believe that he might have given those to Bucky.
Yeah, I could see that happening.
So let's talk about Miss Carter, because we've been getting these lovely moments with Miss Sharon Carter, and what the heck is going on with Miss Carter?
Well, like I said, she's definitely involved with the power broker in some capacity. Did you know who she was speaking on the phone with?
I did what you did. I always have closed captioning on.
That's right. Subtitles definitely gave it away. But I love seeing Batroc. He's back. We got him a little bit in the Winter Soldier, and I honestly had just assumed he was done with this show and we weren't going to see him again. So I'm looking forward to seeing him pop back up next week.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, he's definitely, even if it's a quick one at that point. But she's obviously, again, power broker. It just seems too obvious at this point to power broker, and I think more highly of Marvel to throw something just a little bit of a twist. I'm not saying I connected double agent. Again, is it plausible she's a power broker? Yes. I just want a little bit more. But what was interesting is the painting. Again, they just don't randomly show things without having some sort of meaning, or it's just for us to really deep dive into it and
Red herrings and
red
stuff.
herrings at that point. But they focused just a little bit too much on it for me to. And it was a painting about the title of it was, I think, the tragedy of the Medusa. At that point, had nothing to do with Greek mythology, but apparently it was a ship that was the slave ship. It went down. The soldiers ended up having to resort to cannibalism in order to survive. But there is an African on the ship. He's very, very much a focal point on that point. And what one person had said was thinking about what that painting is. It's basically Sharon feels abandoned. She's basically cannibalizing any kind of resource she has in order to get ahead, in order for her to survive.
Yeah, that's not the kind of thing I normally would have caught, but when you mentioned that to me in the chat, I was like, well, it fits pretty perfectly. Mm-hmm. And right up to her art dealing ways, like the whole thing just fits. I was thinking about it, and I guess there is one other possibility I'm going to throw out there.
Yeah, go for it.
And it's going to sound like a joke, but I'm actually being serious. She could be a Skrull, because at this point, we know that Secret Invasion is coming. Right, with the show's announced, we know it's coming. Skrulls are around. It is possible, and this phrase "out of character" is a little dodgy in general, because if her character does it, it's not out of a character. But she is acting different from how we are used to her acting, different from how we last saw her acting in Civil War when she gave Steve his shield back. I don't know. I wouldn't put it like at the top of my list of possibilities, but it's on the list. It's on the list.
Sawbones in the chat saying I'm 60% on Sharon being deep cover, 35% she's a power broker, 5% she's a Skrull. Or we can go to like the side I talked about, his theory about like she's been brainwashed for a while and has been Zemo's pawn all along. That is really far out. It's a lot of headcanon to do, if you remember back a couple of episodes ago. Yep. But again, it is bad. It is interesting. How about Sam and Bucky having their moment with playing frisbee with the shield, and just a little, Sam basically giving him that, because he said hard truth, saying you weren't, you were avenging. You weren't necessarily, amending. There we go. Yeah. And just talking about it to him in sense of they having that moment. Hey, we're coworkers with a friend, a brothers in arms, things like that. But then you get that lovely training sequence of, suddenly he forgets he can throw the frisbee around, but he can't necessarily throw it at, really high strength and be immediately successful with it, which was nice to see. How about his little, instead of saying on the left, he'll say, all day, man, to his nephew. That's his little callback. Who his nephew was on his left.
On his left. That's right. This conversation scene with Sam and Bucky was, for me, the highlight of the episode. I love seeing the two of them. All season they've been, we are friends, or we are allies. We know we're on the same side ultimately. And they've basically been that way because they shared a mutual friend. And this to me felt like the moment when they became friends. So they're no longer, oh, you're Steve's other friend. It's now just, you're my friend, but we're not going to call it that because we're still going to give each other grief. So coworkers, partners, whatever. But this is the moment they became friends. And I like how it happened just while they were playing catch. They were playing catch with Captain America's shield. And
what a concept.
the training montage happens. And at first I'm like, Sam was just catching it. Why is he struggling so hard? And then I looked again, I'm like, oh, he's throwing it way harder than he was throwing it before.
Yeah, it was cool. It's how many days, weeks, or things like that. Again, it's more believable that it's still going to be something he has to get used to. And like, we don't know how long John trained with the shield before they did that lovely little, hey, he's awesome with it.
Yeah, so. You would expect when we see him in battle with the shield, you would almost expect, I wouldn't be surprised if he just perfect throws every time. But you'd kind of want to see like one or two mess ups.
Yeah. And, Bucky walks off. God knows where he's going. But the fact that we're going to see him in the next episode, because they dropped the, hey, if you end up finding her, give me a ring. So we know he's going to come back. It would be somewhat interesting. But yeah, we did forget he gave him during the boat fix up sequence a gift from Wakanda, his request from the Wakandans at that point. It's the suit. I'm sorry. It's the suit.
Yeah.
It's very much the suit. It's the suit I put in a chat. I'm not going to put on air because I don't want to get taken down at that point.
It's
But
the suit.
it's the suit, and I cannot wait to see how the MCU is going to, again, I would love it if it's a direct translation because that suit is amazing in the comics.
His comic costume as Captain America is fantastic. And he's got a comic history of Wakanda supplying him with tech for his wings. And so it fits that. Something that I really like about it is, they never really told us like where his upgraded Falcon suit came from. He had the one he had in Winter Soldier, and the next time we see him, it's upgraded, right? I always just assumed Tony Stark. That to me just made the most sense.
I thought they said that to some extent, but then I counter that by just thinking that's how John tracked them in the saying they have said that.
And so I think post Endgame the government did some work on the suit and definitely did on Red Wing. But there's that, like in Civil War, he has a much upgraded Falcon armor, whatever you want to call it, Falcon piece of machinery. And here it's like, I like now that it's from Wakanda. And Stark was kind of the tech source for the Avengers and company. I would love to see that become the Wakandans. We'll get Shuri and use that brain power of hers and get some of that out there. And no, she doesn't have to supply everyone. She doesn't need to give Spider-Man his next suit or whatever. But when it can fit in so organically like this, I love that they did it. I had no idea the Wakandans were going to be involved in this show. I should have predicted it. I still feel foolish that I didn't. But I love the way they're using them. Their presence is absolutely felt, and we're going to see it. And, it's kind of awesome that Wakanda, which is supposed to be like, what could have happened, if they were just left alone, if the African continent was left alone, right? That's the Wakandans. And now they are helping to forge the next Captain America, who is also a black man. It's just, I think it's just beautiful poetry there. And I love seeing it. I cannot wait to see this costume, this vibranium costume, right? It's vibranium.
Oh, yeah.
And so he's going to have it. It's lighter weight. He's going to be able to take more hits. Who knows what other stuff will be built into it. At this point, we're just a few more days from finding out, and I am so excited to see this thing.
Oh yeah, it's going to be epic at that point. The Flag Smashers have made. They've met up with Betrock. He's given them arms, and she has fallen into the deep dark pool of. She's been radicalized, as Zemo said. She is fully radicalized, and as he said, the only way is to take her down. And we'll have to see what her fate is. Are they? I don't think Sam's going to kill her at that point. If anything, I think it's going to be either accidental. I don't like the trope that our villains end up just getting killed off. Zemo's one of the few that has survived at that point. And obviously, if they don't think they can use her again, the martyrdom continues to Flag Smashers. Again, killing the leaders can possibly radicalize the movement even further. Who knows? But they make their move, and it's very similar to Hydra. Little codes saying, little code words. Everyone gets activated, and they all go to the big the GRC making the motion for the patch, and making putting up borders again and things like that. So very Hydra-like.
Yeah, I mean the way he leans over one world, one people. I'm like, that's the new Hail Hydra. That's the new Hail Hydra, and. How fitting, because we have Madam Hydra back in play, or at least someone who has been a Madam Hydra, because there's been more than one. You mentioned you don't necessarily like it when the villain dies, and I totally agree with that. And there's plenty of Marvel movies where the villain dies. There's several where the villain lives, and that gives us the potential. Like, think if they had truly killed Loki in the first Thor, we wouldn't have had all these great appearances, right?
Yeah.
Red Skull was technically left alive. We were able to see him again, and so on. I wonder if she is going to die, but if she does, I think it might be at John Walker's hands, not Sam's.
Yeah, I would agree with that. If anyone, not even Bucky's hands, because Bucky now knows the line of she has been hurt. She has been continually, like, she even yells at saying, how many of us have to die to just prove we're citizens of this world, or something to that extent. Like, she's right. She's exactly right. She is a antagonist. I do not view her like she has villainous actions, but she she has points because
Mm-hmm.
and it's one of those things that's very hard to not say your means are wrong, but you do have a point. It's kind of like that. He is totally out of line, but he's right.
Yep,
so
exactly right.
so we get our first end credit scene. John channeling his Tony Stark and building his lovely makeshift shield. That God, I can't wait for that. It to crack under pressure, and it was just it made me laugh.
I was positive we were getting a mid-credit scene. We got credit, or not a mid-credit. We got a credit scene in the last 3 episodes of WandaVision, which was the final third of the show.
Yeah.
And that is where we are at now. We are in the final third of the show. Next week, I fully expect to have 2 credit scenes, one mid, one post. And that's again what WandaVision gave us. One of them teasing where Scarlet Witch was going, or teasing her story. One of us teasing Monica. I could see this some sort of tease for Sam or Bucky, and some sort of tease for either Zemo or Walker.
Yeah, that's. I think it's going. I agree with those. I think definitely I would love a Zemo or just some idea of, Val maybe coming back in, or we get Thunderbolt Ross, because they were again going back to what the showrunners were saying, or the writers were saying, like individuals from the past and past MCU movies are coming back. The past actions, things like that. So maybe there's one more small little cameo they've kept close to the vest, because they kept this one. This one was very well kept. They did a good job.
It was. And what was the quote? Like, people from the earliest parts of the MCU, something like that.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And I mean, technically, outside of Rhodes, do we have anyone since before Phase 2? I don't know if we do, unless I'm forgetting someone.
That's why I'm kind of thinking either we're getting a Thunderbolt Ross, or we're getting Zola, or someone, from Cap's past. Or he was MCU, so he didn't want to single that out by Cap. So things might be, maybe Nick Fury makes an appearance. Who knows?
Sure. Yeah. Tim Rooney, will Bucky reconcile with the gentleman from the first episode? Absolutely. Absolutely. When Sam tells him there must be someone in there who needs closure and you're the only one who can give it, Bucky says there's at least a dozen or 12 people, something along those lines. Mm-hmm. We're all thinking the same person, the one that they did spend time with. Yes, do the work. So yes, frankly, if they don't do that, that'll be a demerit if we don't see that next week.
Yeah.
Demerit on the episode.
Yep. It's then all in the game. Home Depot Cap. Yes, very much. But yeah, 2 credits, yeah, something with that. I would love to see maybe where we're heading with Bucky at that point. We've gotten hints that this show and Loki have more of a track record to be another season. WandaVision, which was always been my theory, was a one and done. And I'm fine with that if that's true. But this one definitely, I think, has earned a season 2. There's still a lot more to tell.
Yeah, the beauty of these formats is when it lends itself to go to a movie, follow into a movie. When it lends itself to a second season, great, even better. And part of me is kind of hoping for at the end, like with our new Kristen Captain America, like a Captain America will return or something like that.
Yeah. Walker built this thing in a garage with a box of scraps. Yes, thank you, Obadiah. Thank you, Clay.
Yes,
thank you.
Absolutely.
Yes, we'll see if he can build that arc reactor of a shield. So, but yeah, next week, haven't heard any, the past couple of ones we've heard like increasing time. So this one was by far the longest in time code. So we'll see what this week holds, but I'm excited. And then we get a break at that point. But, we will have a special guest joining us next week for the final. This person has called it at the beginning of the show at that point. So this person will be joining us, and it is not Travis Snell. He is planning his return, but we'll keep that up. But it is I will say that up front. It is not Mr. Snell. He will join us in the chat though, more than likely.
Hopefully.
So all right. So I want to take our first ad break before we get into our surprise trailer that we did not necessarily see coming, and someone's birthday was fulfilled or wish was fulfilled.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our first ad break. These ads help keep the lights on at the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network. We don't get to choose what ads come on, and they can be a bit loud, so we're going to give you that 3 count to turn that volume down before they come on. 3, 2, 1. We'll be right back. All right, yes, and Travis says he is always watching. Always watching.
Tim Rooney just sent me a message saying Justin Hammer will be the cameo at the end. And while I don't buy that necessarily for this show, I mean, maybe he's the power broker, but I do think we will see him again. I do think we will see Justin Hammer again.
Yes, I love it. Bring me some more Sam Rockwell. Little dancing moves too. Yeah, Hammer Tech. All right, so yes, so the big one that dropped yesterday, we had our very first teaser for I know a lot of people say Shang-Chi, the Legend of the Ten Rings. I've also heard Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. So the teaser trailer has dropped on the titular title character. Words are tough. Simu Liu, who is our Shang-Chi for this film. He has been so passionate, so much of a cheerleader for this film. He has been so excited for this. This is a character I have not read much. I have a good kind of basic biographical knowledge of the character. I've seen him pop up in different ways. But man, this teaser trailer got me pumped for this film. And that's what its job's supposed to do. But man, they succeeded.
Yeah, I started seeing all this like online chatter of like, we could get a trailer on Monday. We could get a trailer. I'm like, what am I missing? Why does everybody think we're getting a trailer on Monday? And then we get that poster, and I'm like, oh, cool. We got a poster trailer in a few weeks. Okay, great. No big deal. It's like, what, 10 minutes later, the trailer drops? I'm like, this is amazing.
He even said, I'm excited. It's my birthday. Trailer's coming out in a couple of weeks by that point. And literally, like you said, 10 minutes after he dropped, because I put that in our group chat and just like, okay, well, guess we're going to wait a couple of weeks at that point. Marvel gives him a birthday gift and says, drop the trailer. So someone knew, someone was leaking some stuff that the trailer was going to drop, but at least they didn't change it based on the leaks. They kept it, and what a great birthday gift for his first appearance, the character's first appearance in the MCU. So I'm going to cue up the trailer a little bit, but for those who don't know much about Shang-Chi, give it a quick little Cliff Notes version. He was a character that was created in the 1970s during the craze of the Kung Fu craze at that point. He, in the comics, he is the son of the villain Fu Manchu. And Fu Manchu is a very, very prevalent racist stereotype of Asians. In the film, it looks like, it very, very much looks like Fu Manchu has been replaced, that Shang-Chi is the son of the Mandarin, or in the credits, he is currently known as Wenwu, played by Tony Leung. And
yeah, but they did tell us he's the Mandarin.
Yes,
Feige said that.
Yep. So he's Marin. So in the comics, he was raised to be his father's right hand, but did not know in the comics, did not know his dad was evil until years later, turns on him and becomes a hero. I'm seeing a very similar thing happen outside of maybe he knows his dad's necessarily not on the up and up.
Yeah, I would agree. He seems to know something, because you get the feeling he's running away from his dad. Mm-hmm. And so he seems to know something is up there.
Yeah, so I'm going to queue up the way it looks. I know it's not full screen, but again, we don't want to get pulled. So we tried this last time with, what was the trailer? Black Widow. So we're going to keep that up. I'm going to turn off also the volume on it, so we also don't get demonetized. So we'll be talking about it. Feel free, Brent, to stop me at points too. I may stop at points and we'll go back and forth. But so let's cue this up. And so he's the heir to this, and we see him get even just like we know what he's doing. This was where he was training, punching that fist, getting trained. So we get the idea that he's disappeared. He's gone on basically a walkabout for 10 years after training, and I love the karaoke scene where what are they singing? Where is it? Our over, sideways, and under. They're singing, a whole new world.
Mm-hmm.
Got
Mm-hmm.
gotta love that little synergy. Gotta get that little. But we get kind of our, who I'm gonna call our new Darcy, Aquafina.
Darcy.
I'm
I mean, maybe.
I'm telling you, she's gonna be our new Darcy. She's playing Katie. She's gonna be our, like I said, Darcy, our modern view of all the craziness going on at that point. I could totally see that. In fact, the little stuff we did hear verbalized really made me feel like she's our new Darcy. So, he's living in the opposite world, in the modern world, but you see him training at that point. And this character right here is not very good with pausing.
Is really awesome looking. I didn't know anything about this character. I don't know a lot about Shang-Chi. I've only seen him in some stuff here and there. I know he taught Spider-Man Kung Fu at one point during Spider Island.
Yep.
But I see this and I'm like, I have no idea who this is, but I love the design of the character.
Yep. He is being trained in the past, and we also see this character in present day. He is the villain known as the Death Dealer. Shang-Chi does not have many huge villains, not a huge rogues gallery, but the Death Dealer is definitely a major part of the rogues gallery for him. So we also back a little bit further. We saw like a poster of Pressure Point. So that is him training in Kung Fu, recognizing where to strike and lead the. So we do see the Mandarin taking him around. And look at what is on his wrists.
You might call them rings?
Yes. So this is how it looks like we're doing our 10 rings. Instead of rings on the fingers, we have 5 rings on the wrists. And each in the comics, just like it looks like for this one, it's going to grant him different kinds of powers, which at one point later in the trail, we do see him controlling water, giving him strength, and probably immortality, or at least lasting life.
I like that they did the rings this way versus literal rings on your fingers. We just had a all powerful glove with magic gems in it. Let's move a little bit away from that. So I feel like this is a good change. Otherwise, visually, it could have looked very similar to the Infinity Gauntlet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they're training him, be the best at that point. And we get a little cage match going on, a little bit of a fight night getting ready to happen. Could this be Madripoor?
I really wonder if it is. There's been rumors that Madripoor would be seen in this, and that would be a great connection between this and Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Oh, we get our first look, even though he's not in his glory yet. This is Razor Fist. So
I need to read some of this. I need to read up on these characters.
Yeah, so Razor Fist, we'll see him later. Okay, you pointed this out, and it's hard to see what we're seeing, but if you all are looking at a better full screen version of the show or this trailer, there is a Captain America shield painted on the wall right over here. I know, Brent, you pointed that out to us. Over here, there's a dragon. Hold that thought. When we get to later on in this trailer, I'm going to talk to you about who that dragon is probably going to be and how the part of this dragon is very important to this film.
For the record, that cap shield was pointed out to me by Twitter user DKZ137. He DM'd that to me asking if I thought that's what it looked like, and it sure does. You zoom in there, it's a Captain America shield.
Exactly. So, all right, we see him landing. You see the 10 rings right here. So it looks like he has been brought back to his father. All right. Here's our Mandarin in all his glory at that point. It's if the Mandarin appears to be, one of these characters that long-lasting immortality at that point, we have other characters that have immortality villains-wise, and DC Comics world, Ra's or Ra's al Ghul, what have you. At that point, he is, kind of like that idea. But like, you got to love, didn't mean to do that. You got to love the idea of, these 10 rings, which we saw before. Hold on. There we go. the 10 rings from, we saw that symbol in a little known film as Iron Man 3.
Yeah, and aren't the 10 rings even referenced in the first Iron Man? Doesn't even go that far
Yes,
back.
exactly, because that is who captured him at that point, the flag. So this is our true Mandarin. We'll talk about the retconning that went on a little bit. So these are the rings being used by the Mandarin in a very ancient battle. Looks to be really going to be very fun battle. Very, very interesting. So these animals right here that are in the background, these are known as Fu dogs. In Buddhist mythology, they were ancient guardians that protect sacred sites and ancestors from defilement. So we get the rings being used possibly to control water.
During that shot with the food dogs, like if you pause it at just the right moment, like looks like there's maybe some flying creatures and stuff as well, potentially little dragon-like creatures, maybe.
Yep, I think it's coming out just a little bit later. So we get Death Dealer in the present day. Okay, so
Yep, right
so you
here.
get some flying creatures at that point. And this is where I want to talk about. All right, so this might be also hinting at the MCU's appearance of the character Fin Fang Foom. In the comic, and he is a dragon. In the comics, Finn is actually an alien that was buried for 1,000 years, and the rings come from Finn's ship that brought him to Earth. So Finn was awakened when the Mandarin used the rings. So the movie might be the true power of the rings is used to awaken and control the dragon. That could be but there's been a lot of ideas, a lot of rumors that Fin Fan Foom will be making his first appearance. Okay, here's one character that I am very excited to see. That is Shang-Chi's sister, Zhang Li, played by Fa Chen. The story might be he left for 10 years. She stayed behind. He's still the favored son.
I'm going to need you to give me a reading list. Give me some homework.
I will give you some homework.
I want some homework. I want you to call on your real life and give me homework.
I will. Yes, I will do that. It might be tomorrow at that point, but
that is fine because I won't be reading anything tonight.
But yeah, that could be. I'm looking forward to that because I think that's it's a trope, but I think it's going to be interesting to see that dynamic there. All right, and here's Razor Fist. What an that's going to be hard going to the bathroom.
Yeah, it's a nasty cut waiting to happen.
Yeah.
I love all the different settings it looks like we're going to have.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's so many various set pieces. It's just visually, this is going to be such a blast.
Hold on. We're losing. There we go. So we get a little humor, and some people have said, and I was kind of like, this is not necessary, but we expect it out of Marvel,
I thought it was fine. I didn't think anything of it.
It wasn't necessarily, I expected it. I was like, okay, whatever. It's not what I don't think the whole trailer falls apart at the end, but
I think I was too focused on him keeping those two women inside the bus as it was tipping over. He holds on to one and he uses his foot to block the window from the other one at the same time. That's really what I was focused on.
A couple of things. I told you I have a theory. I'm going to put it out there. So the movie takes place in San Francisco. The reason I'll call that out is one, the Ghirardelli headquarters, just in that last sequence, driven by that headquarters in San Francisco. What superheroes are in San Francisco?
Ant-Man and the Wasp and Stature.
And Stature. Where are they during all these shenanigans? Like everyone loves saying, where were the X-Men? Where are they? My theory is we are going to witness. This is the first movie that is going to be during the blip.
Yeah, look at Sabo and Sanchez's question.
Look at Sabo. There we go.
Taking place pre or post blip, but no, you're saying during the blip. Now
during the blip.
I think that's a really compelling idea because we haven't seen these 5 years. We don't really know what happened during this time. All we have is the briefest glimpse at Endgame for the few minutes, basically between the 5 years later and an hour later when they start the time heist. I would love to see some stuff during the blip.
Yeah, so let me catch up with some people since I was watching. I wasn't putting up the chat. Snell says, I love the concept. Go live your life for 10 years, enjoy it, do everything you want to, and then come back to your place. You got some, and it was that. Will Ben Kingsley make an appearance or physically or picture video? I think we're gonna get some callback because you got that, lot of a good chunk of the Marvel MCU fan base did not like the head fake, the fake out of the Mandarin in Iron Man 3, but they retconned it in the one shot All Hail the King, where it was brought forward there really is a real Mandarin, and he did not find Trevor's portrayal funny.
I can see them referencing that there have been pretenders before. Even if we don't see Trevor Slattery again, I could see some sort of reference to him happening.
Snell says, I could see a picture in the middle of a history lesson in a Mandarin sort of segment. Yep. Snell also says, heard rumors had some mix or at least some blips in the blip stuff. Yeah, I think it would be cool. It's our first one. We've seen we've seen a couple of now 2 Marvel shows post blip. I think this would be good to see what happened during the blip with this. Interesting stuff coming from Emmeline _tan 2002. She had broken down on one of the chats what Shang-Chi means. Shang meaning on top of or to climb, to get on top of, and Chi in the traditional Chinese culture is believed to be the vital force forming on and around a living thing. So Shang-Chi means to go up / level up your life force.
If they reference Trevor Slattery, and this is something that made the real Mandarin upset, can we put part of the blame on this on Iron Man? Because I would really enjoy that.
just to troll enough people, right?
Yes, exactly right.
Travis Hines wants to take him off the board permanently.
Man, you gotta really hate this guy.
Yeah,
it's just an acting gig. Don't blame Trevor.
I know. Ole.
Yes.
Come on. Yeah. So again, it was great. I was hoping to see. My prediction was this wasn't going to come out until Black Widow dropped, but I'm good with it now. Obviously, it's more Marvel content. It's our teaser, so maybe we get a proper trailer. This comes out September 3rd, so Black Widow drops. July 9th. So I could see our first full-length trailer in Black Widow.
Yeah, we're not far away from this. We're not. The rest of the year, like everything is close together. Like basically, once we get to Loki, everything is it's nonstop.
Yeah. So that was again. They've got MCU already had my money. Most comic book movies at least have my passing interest in. Even my sigh of Morbius. I'm just not jazzed yet for Morbius yet, but I will go and see it. At that point, I will pay my money and go see it because again, I enjoy it. But again, that one still hasn't won me over. But this one, you now have my attention.
This was a fantastic trailer. And
yes.
Who knows? Maybe he'll pop up in Morbius. I did hear that Jared Leto wants Morbius to show up in this. Just a rumor, but it's what I heard.
You know what? He's the new Iron Man. I got that on a hot take. It was from a great site called I think We Got This Something. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. Something like that.
All right. So next used item. This was going to be our lead story until the trailer dropped, but Alfred Molina spills all the tea. All of it, and details in amazing detail that he has confirmed that Doc Ock is returning in Spider-Man No Way From Home. This is an exclusive from Variety. He is out there promoting. He's in the Oscar race. He is promoting his role. What was the movie? I'm trying to find it at this point.
Promising Young Woman.
Promising Young Woman. Yes, I think a member of our network is a big fan of that movie. A big fan.
I had totally heard of it before this article. 100%.
I have not yet seen it. I'm still waiting for it to come streaming at that point. So it definitely is one I will watch. But he's out there promoting because he's nominated for his role in the film. He spoke under how the intense secrecy of Marvel, the MCU's 27th movie. He said, when we were shooting it, we were all under orders not to talk about it because it was supposed to be some sort of big, great secret. But, it's all over the internet. I actually describe myself as the worst kept secret in Hollywood. Molina couldn't help but express his excitement to return to the role of Otto Octavius 17 years after his appearance in Spider-Man 2. He said it was wonderful. It was very interesting going back after 17 years to play the same role, given the intervening years, I now have 2 chins, a waddle, crow's feet, and a slightly dodgy lower back. And he's got an amazing accent, so I will not try to do it justice. Octavius seemingly died in 2004 sequel. Molina spoke to the director, John Watts, on how the MCU would bring him back to life after confirming to Molina that, quote unquote, in this universe, no one really dies. Watts spoke on how the movie will pick up where the villain's story from the very moment in which he drowned in the river. Molina also confirmed that this movie will be used de-aging technology to make Octavius look the way he did in Spider-Man 2. He confirmed his conversation with Watts that Marvel would use the same techniques used in Robert Downey Jr. in Captain America Civil War and Samuel Jackson in Captain Marvel. Hey, just look at me, and said, hey, did you see what we did with Bob Downey Jr. and Sam Jackson? He laughs. While Marvel has done fantastic work, he hasn't, I don't know if he's seen it. I would hope he's at least seen a little bit of ideas, but he said they made Robert Downey's face and Robert De Niro's face younger in The Irishman, but when he was fighting, he looked like an older guy. He looked like an old guy. That's worried me when they said they were doing it again. So, but again, we had seen set photos. I think I put the GIF in the chat when this came out of Bryan Cranston going, he doesn't care.
We knew, but now we know.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm excited to see what they do with him. I am. I think it's interesting. He was obviously a great villain in Spider-Man 2. He was a fantastic Dr. Octopus. It'll be fun to revisit this character. How are they going to do it? I mean, they said, in this universe, no one ever dies. In comic books, no one ever dies. So that just fits. Like, yep. It's super comic accurate to seemingly die and come back. Like, that's what they do. And so I don't.
Hey, could it be a superhero punching a universe or some mirrors? Could it be something like that?
We don't talk about that. We cut it back away.
Danger, Will Robinson, danger. Tim Rennie somehow ... Doc Ock has returned. Yeah.
I mean, maybe like when this fake sun thing that he was making like exploded, maybe it did something to him and he ends up flying through the multiverse. I don't know. I don't care. And I'm excited to see it. I am. Multiverse is fun. I enjoyed those movies. Who didn't enjoy those movies? I saw Spider-Man 2 on my first date with my wife, her choice for the record. And so that movie obviously has a special place for me personally.
Right here. And right here. This poster.
There it is. I'm excited to see what they do with them. And, I've heard speculation. Maybe they'll take on a little superior route with it. And if that was the case, that would be incredible. Absolutely incredible. You could almost see, hypothetical, just let your brain run wild, another Spider-Man movie where Tom Holland is Spider-Man, but you're getting like inner monologue of Alfred Molina, like doing voiceovers and stuff. I think it sounds fun. Are they going to do it? Probably not. But it's fun to speculate. That's what we do. Dr. Octopus is back.
Yeah. And it's nice to have a little confirmation. We know things are going to get slowly confirmed. And I like it that Alfred Molina is like, what are you going to do? Take me out of the movie? I'm one of your biggest set pieces of this. You're not taking me out. So film's done. It's in the can. Set photos are out. It's out there. Let's just stop being yes. Travis Hines, Mephisto brought him back. Always Mephisto. But didn't you know it was Agatha all along though?
Mm-hmm. Mephisto has no part of this movie. He's not allowed.
I know. It's Agatha. Agatha did it. I tell you what, one of my favorite behind the scenes spoofs, funny moments from Spider-Man 2 is Willem Dafoe showing up on set, and you got Molina there shooting the scene, and he's explaining like all the stuff before he gets into does the big demonstration, and it's Willem Dafoe in the in the arms in his perfect voice. Like, oh, I love that. That brings a smile to my face anytime I see someone post that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Wow, William Dafoe, such a good Norman Osborn.
I know. Maybe not done yet. So, all right. I believe our last news item. We talked about Skrulls. Why not end the show with some Skrull news at this point?
Seems reasonable.
We got some news yesterday, and then we'll talk about that news from yesterday. It was a rumor at this point. This is now not officially being confirmed, but we've got a big trade saying it. Secret Invasion news, casting news, and rumors. Emilia Clarke has been cast in Secret Invasion. Variety has shared a report that former Game of Thrones star Emilia Clarke is in final negotiations and will join Marvel Studios' Secret Invasion streaming show on Disney+. The outlet has revealed that the role of Clarke is naturally under wraps, but will make her first foray into the MCU. A number of very interesting theories. A spider-like character, maybe a Jessica Drew, maybe making her first appearance, and Emilia might be playing her. I have also seen as our next possible casting, she could be a villain. The Skrull Queen, Veronica. I've heard that. It's
Abigail Brand. I've heard that.
Abigail Brand is definitely a very good theory. So she is very talented, amazing in Game of Thrones. We have Marvel Entertainment in the chat. Hello, Marvel Entertainment. Thank you for joining us.
Can we get the hookup on some screeners or something? Marvel
I know,
Entertainment.
Yes, we will gladly promote your stuff. I mean, look at the title of the show. Here we are.
If she was playing Jessica Drew, unless I'm totally misremembering it, Marvel can use Agent Jessica Drew. Sony technically a Spider-Woman. It's sort of like the Wanda and Pietro thing where they both have access to it. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Do you think that means we would see a Spider-Woman down the line, like for her truly take up that mantle?
Yeah, I mean, I've been on the thing that I think the relationship with Disney and Sony has the tension to have cooled, and they realize they work well with each other and they both can benefit from this partnership. So even just having Agent Jessica Drew starting off, I'll take it. If at the end of the series we see her possibly getting some spider-like powers and nothing more yet, I'll take it. I'll take her being a Skrull. I'll take her being Abigail Brand. I love Emilia Clarke. She's, like I said, she's a great actress. This is another big win for Marvel casting.
Yeah, absolutely. And not the first Game of Thrones alumni.
No.
And I have not seen Game of Thrones, but it's obviously a hugely popular show. So it's pretty cool to get some of their bigger names.
Could we see a reunion between Mr. Snow at that point? He is playing, Kit Harington's playing Black Knight. Maybe.
I mean, I wouldn't rule it out. Eventually, all the toys come together.
Exactly. Keep that in mind. I have a fact or fiction about that. Marv. Also, continuing on. Yesterday, or at least now, if you're listening to this, Monday. This came from Hollywood Reporter. Marvel reportedly wants Olivia Colman for Secret Invasion. Hollywood Reporter's Boris Kitt is reporting that Olivia Colman, who is nominated for Best Supporting Actress in this year's The Father, is in negotiations to join Secret Invasion as the next series. Coleman has won the Oscar for a role opposite Emma Stone and Rachel Weisz in 2018's The Favorite, in a part that was lauded for numerous other landed for her numerous other awards. Her regal work as Queen Elizabeth II in Netflix's The Crown. I just finished watching. I finally caught up on that series. She does an amazing, outstanding job as Queen Elizabeth II. So she's already a winner in my book. She's a very interesting actress. She can play a lot of different parts. Can fall into different roles. Some have labeled her a quote unquote chameleon. A chameleon? Skrull? Maybe she's the Skrull Queen. You know?
I could see that among these two, and obviously neither of them could be, but I would probably give that to Olivia Colman in this case as the Skrull Queen.
but she has wanted this for a while.
Yep.
2016, she shared her hopes of portraying a quote unquote Marvel baddie. I've always wanted to play a Marvel baddie. I'm not sure I fit the mold though. Like a powerful, extraordinary woman, somebody with superhuman powers would be really fun, but I'm not sure how many middle-aged women they have in Marvel. Dreams do come true, Miss Olivia. Dreams do come true.
It's like so many big names coming to the MCU this week, and this is just
Mhm.
another one.
This show's getting stacked. I mean,
It is.
you already started off with bringing back Sam Jackson, and it's man. I was just looking forward to it. I was slightly disappointed that this would not be portrayed in the movie. We may only see after effects from it as it leads into Captain Marvel 2. But I'm still excited about the potential of what this series would do. Feige's gone on record. It will not be as massive universe or world spanning as the comic was, but I'm happy to take an adaptation of it because Marvel, as the MCU has proven, they have done a very good job with adaptations.
Definitely. Absolutely.
So, all right. So that's all the news. Anything you got any more to say about these topics?
No, just it's excited to get some news, start have some of that come out, even if it's just technically leaks about these farther out projects.
Yeah. So, all right. So we are going to take our last ad break. So, listeners, as we said before, these ads help keep the Geek Ultimate Alliance lights on. We don't get to choose what ads come on, but they can sometimes be a bit loud. So I'm going to give you that 3 count to turn that volume down so those eardrums are preserved. 3, 2, 1. We'll be right back. All right. Took me a couple of tries since looking at I've got the fact and fictions pulled up, but let's see. We got a Fanboy Clay. She's a great in Broadchurch. I know she's been in other things, but it's a steal for the MCU. Yes, Miss Coleman. I have not seen Broadchurch. My first introduction to her was Queen Elizabeth II, but yeah, that'll be very exciting if she is cast like that. So, all right, fact or fictions. This was you last week. All right, number 1, we will see Marvel one-shots come to Disney Plus within the next 18 months. 75% fact, 25% fiction. So I think I was a fact on this one. I think that is I was sad when they took it away, but I think there's definitely a place for it to come back.
Yep.
Even as do one-shots to lead into upcoming projects, Because that's what a lot of them were at some points.
There were little bridges between different projects. Like a funny thing happened on the way to Thor's hammer. I would love to see more of that little 15 to 20 minute thing. They wouldn't even have to be that long. They'd be 10 minutes more of it. But I want them to put the old ones up there too.
Yeah, I think that definitely, if not credits, just a whole section of the one shots. Number 2, we will see Tony Stark inspired villain in a property other than Armor Wars and Ironheart. I know you've said this already tonight. So whether it be a real want or just to troll certain people.
It's gonna happen though.
67% agree with you. 33% said fiction. I think I said possibly one more time, but after that, I think the trope is done. I think it loses its laughable luster, I think.
And of course, some people would tell you it's already lost it, but
yes, true.
That's the people that feed me when I think it's funny.
Exactly. It's just like, here, let's poke the bear just a little bit more. And the last one, John Walker as U.S. agent will get a Disney Plus show. This one bit the dust royally. 11% said fact, 89% said fiction. I think I was fiction. I said I could see him as a supporting member.
Yeah.
I think Dookie responded to that. I could maybe see leading a Thunderbolts team on Disney Plus, but a whole show seems to be a little far-fetched. But hey, Kevin Feige's batting 1,000 right now, so I'd be down.
There you go.
Yep, there we are. All right, so it's my turn this week, so let me pull mine up. All right. Oh, look, I even wrote one for the next time, thinking ahead. All right. After mutants are introduced into the MCU, there will be at least one X-Men character that will become an Avenger, but it won't be Wolverine.
Fact. There is a long history of there being one or two people from the X-Men who join up with the Avengers. Beast has done it. Obviously, Wanda and Pietro have done it. Yes, I think they will do that.
Yeah, it'd be good. It just I like the potential of that. So yeah, I'm definitely a fact. All right. So instead of one big Infinity War slash Endgame like event that these next three MCU phases march towards, it will be smaller events that are tied to a few properties. So they'll have like, you have a trilogy coming on. They'll have their small ending event for ending their trilogy. But no big event, mass endgame thing for these three big phases this time.
I gotta go fiction. Maybe it won't be as large in scale, but I think they're going to do something that we may not know it until we see it, but we will recognize as like this is the culmination of whatever this next saga is going to be.
Mm-hmm. And I wrote it, but I'll be fiction on it too. But I agree with you. Yes, it'll be smaller scale. These three phases. I think the reason this question came about in my mind is just because I can't yet see the direction yet that they're heading towards because there's so many new toys on the table. Fantastic Four, X-Men, Shang-Chi, Captain Marvel. We've got a lot of new toys coming into play, and I'm wondering how they all fit in at this point. I trust Marvel. I know they're going to find some way to fit them in, but right now, that was the impetus of the question, or at least the impetus of the idea. So, last one. At the end of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, Wanda will leave our Earth to find peace and happiness on a different Earth, and she discovers for a fresh new start.
I got to go fiction, ultimately. I don't see her being a character who gets any sort of happy ending, as tragic as that sounds. But ultimately, no, I don't think they're going to shuttle her off that way. I think if Elizabeth Olsen is done, I think her character will die. Let's put it that way.
Fair. I'm gonna go with my just wild, cool ranch idea. I think I'll call this fact, because it also leaves it to, okay, we put her off the board for a bit. We can bring her back. We have the ability to hop between Earths and universe and multiverses at that point. But this is a character that is just tragedy upon tragedy upon tragedy. Maybe the softy heart in me sometimes just wants her to. She deserves some sort of happiness, whether it be going away with Vision, her kids, anything, some sort of happiness. And yeah, maybe. So. All right, so those are mine. I will post those on Sunday afternoon, so be on the lookout for those. And next week, you're up, Brent.
Yep, I've already started a list because I thought I was this week.
He was so eager to say, I've got a few more to come up with. I said, no, you don't. You're good. All right, so we're closing out the show tonight, going with Comic Book Corner, Ultimate 6, Issue 3. We finally get some present day Spider-Man in this at this point. The after effects of the breakout, we see some Spider-Man. We're starting to see kind of the plans for what Norman is possibly doing.
Yeah, Peter Parker has entered the game, and I love how they just pull him out of school. And the principal's like, oh, yeah, this random guy, you could just come and take one of the students. No problem. I'm sure you're totally on the list of approved people to check this kid out of school.
and yeah, it's just like, and I'm a school administrator. And it's like, this is not how this works. This is not how any of this works.
And I love that they're just like, ultimately, yes, Peter Parker needs a secret identity. But I do like the thing where Nick Fury's like, S.H.I.E.L.D. agents are okay. I don't care. He's going to know who you are. And he's telling him, just get your costume and get over here. And then Peter doesn't even bother to put the costume on.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, everybody gets to know who I am.
Because again, it's kind of like Daredevil. He spreads his identity around. Peter's pretty much almost as guilty of it, especially in the Ultimate Universe. Oh boy, he's so guilty of it.
Oh, he's horrible with his identity in the Ultimate Universe.
Yeah, but yeah, the issue kind of like we're looking at the after effects of the breakout, and they see pretty much almost everyone killed there. Hank's basically on life support. The we'll call them the Secret Five, the Sinister Five, have broken out. We don't know where they are, and that's why they're recruiting Peter, because it's their arch nemesis. He is the one who has basically put them in custody. And, Peter's worried about Aunt May. He's worried about Mary Jane. And Nick kind of goes off on him. He wants to do it his way, and Nick's not having anything of it.
Yeah, throughout the Ultimate Spider-Man run, Nick takes a very tough love tact with Peter throughout the whole time. He doesn't let him get away with anything. He treats Peter like the adult that Peter wants to be. He treats Peter like the hero that Peter can be. Let's put it that way. And of course, Peter's obviously concerned. He's worried about MJ. He's worried about Aunt May. And they're like, no, we have them covered. We have agents helping them, protecting them. And like, be real, like these agents are going to be able to stop Dr. Octopus, Green Goblin, and the others. But you're right. Spider-Man is the one who has stopped them. So, of course, not only do you bring him in because he's going to be a target, but he can be an asset as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, again, it's an interesting series in a sense of, we don't get the we know Norman is trying to go after him, and for what many would think would be for revenge at that point, but it's just his words and saying like there will be 6. And I don't think necessarily, I mean, I've read it before, but it hasn't been there. But I mean, the subtlety of Bendis's writing can sometimes be a little on the nose, saying, I seem to think they want something not to kill Peter, but for something else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so,
I would agree.
Yeah, so we've got our setup, but at the end we see Norman Osborn is making a phone call to the President of the United States, and apparently has some information to share regarding Nick Fury.
Yeah, this Norman is able to get access like that to the White House, to the president. But he is Norman Osborn. I mean, he's sort of like a Lex Luthor type of the Marvel Universe. It's not hard to believe, really.
No, it's definitely not. So, but all right. So we'll see what happens next week with issue 4. All right.
Yeah,
so
only a couple more to go.
Yeah, a couple more to go, and we'll have to start thinking about. This one was the fans' choice, so you and I get to kind of choose this upcoming one. So we'll have to start thinking about what our choice wants to be, and go with leading towards something or going towards just favorite picks. So we got a lot to choose from. A lot to choose from. All right, so volume 45 in the books. We've had this was a lot. This was a lot of good stuff tonight.
Yeah, we had between a great episode of Falcon-Winter Soldier, trailers, some awesome news. I mean, we really ran the gamut of great stuff this week.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we've got a guest joining us next week. For looking at the finale of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So that's going to probably take up a most of our show next week. So it's gonna be a good time. So, but yeah. So let's do our sign-offs, Brent. You may never know. We might have an end credits to talk about. So you never know what might strike our fancy. So yeah, why don't you tell them where they can find you?
Sure. Easiest place is go to Twitter, Brentech Prime, and feel free to DM me whatever you're thinking. My DMs are open for good or for bad, and I don't mind. I really enjoy getting to talk with the listeners. So go ahead and message me.
Yeah, tell them when Mephisto is going to pop up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Maybe Far From Home. You never know.
Well, I do, because Far From Home's over.
Yeah, Far From Home's over.
Like, I do know Far From Home's over.
I know, or is it? Maybe No Way Home goes back in time to Far.
Can't rule it out. Can't rule it out.
Can't rule it out. All right, yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Chris Balga. You can follow the show at Marvel A Podcast. You can follow the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network on at GUA Pod Network. You can email the show at marvelalliancepodcast@gmail.com. Feel free to tweet or email if you want to provide feedback, ask questions, give if you are necessarily going strong with, is it Sharon? Is it Zola? Is it Mephisto? Who knows? Is it the Contessa? Is it Val? No, sorry, I can't say Val. I have to think Val. That's what it is. All right. So continue to rate and review the podcast, Apple Podcast, whatever platform of choice may be. Thank you, listeners, for joining us in the chat. Thank you for watching us in the chat. For those of you listening, Stay safe out there, everyone. And as Stan the Man will say, Excelsior, true believers. All right. Let's continue our talk on Invincible.
Yes.
I forgot. What episode is this?
This is the episode.
6?
It was episode 6 where we get the college visit.
And we actually get to spend some time with William, who is a huge part of the comics, and we have just seen him very little.
Yeah, we really didn't see too much of him here, or in the show so far, but he got a great spotlight. And but you know who I really want to mention though is Ezra Miller's D.A. Sinclair. Like when I first heard about this, I'm like, that would be perfect casting for the live action. And yes, his voice was perfect for it. I thought Ezra Miller did it. It's not a huge role yet. If it follows the comics, we can expect to see him more. But I thought he nailed the part. I thought he did a great job.
Yeah, I love how Amazon Prime, you pause it, you get that little X-ray thing, so they tell you little hints about the stuff, but the casting. So I was like pausing when they get new cast members because sometimes I pay attention. I remember this was a huge, amazing cast list. So Ezra Miller, I had totally forgotten he was going to be in this show for this part. So yeah, did a great job. I forget what these things are called. These cyborg assassin killers.
The Reanimin.
The Reanimin.
Yep.
Well, let's steal from a great B horror classic at that point.
Yeah, I really enjoy these issues of the comics. It's a cool little story. Invincible goes off with Amber and with William just to kind of check out college. Let's go see what this is like. Yeah. And I was cracking up when they parked their car just like in the middle of the college campus, not in a parking spot, no other cars around them. Here's a good one. Let's go here.
Yeah, this was definitely, coming back from, Mark recovers from what Angela thinks, getting hit by a bus at the heck of a bus with Bad Beast at that point, but recovers. Finally, we get the secret out. Omni-Man's secret's out amongst his wife. Finally confronts him on it. She knows, and that's gonna be interesting to see what results from that one, because I don't know if he's worried. I can't tell.
It is hard to tell, and this is right now quite the departure from how she finds stuff out about him in the comics. And so I'll be really curious, because in the comics, I think that's a pretty powerful moment. And so I'll be curious to find out when the inevitable happens and we get that comic scene in this, because it's coming. It has to be coming. Will it feel like it lost a little something because Debbie already knows now? Or maybe it'll be enhanced in another way because they're taking her story a different way. But for everyone who's like, I don't know if I should read the comics or not, this is a pretty big departure. It's definitely within the spirit, but it's a departure.
Yeah, it is in that point. And again, you and I have said, like, and those of us in the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network have read it and kind of have our own little chat going on with our own spoilers at that point. I think most of us have been pretty okay with, the adaptations that they've been doing with this. So it's departures, but it works at that point. I know Mark is still learning and not as his prime self, but man, he has gotten his butt handed to him left and right these few episodes. He has not owned the room in a while.
It's kind of a trope of the character. He is not invincible. And he could absolutely use some training.
Yeah, which is why the title card gets more and more blood on it every time.
Yeah, it's just always Mark's blood every time. So I like the design of the Reanimin. I've always thought they were cool looking, and I think they translated it really well here. I hopefully, like the comics, we eventually see them again.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. How many more episodes do we have? Is this a 9 episode?
8. It's 2 more.
Okay, 2 more. All right. So we get, as Falcon the Winter Soldier departs us, we still got 1 more, and other things at that point. Bad Batch, it's just
Bad Batch. Yep.
Yeah, Bad Batch. So, but yeah, a lot of great content. I'm still enjoyed. I was totally fine with this being kind of a lighter show, even though we had an action beat with the fight at that point, and some of our lovely fighting and gore sequences. But yeah, I think after what happened last episode, this was a nice pause button. Let's take a break. But hey, Angela and him taking a break.
Yeah, I mean, this was a good one for some character moments, and like you pointed out, a lot more of William, his best friend.
Yep. So, all right. So those of you stuck around, we appreciate it. Thank you again for tuning in for Marvel Alliance Invincible Chat, and we will see you next week. Bye-bye, everyone.
See you later.